In the comment section of my last video, a lot of people asked me to take a look at Beidou in a Lunar Charge team. So with the release of Columbina and the rerun of Ineffa, I decided it would be the perfect time to do just that. And initially, I thought that this would be a pretty chill and straightforward video. Well, little did I know that this would instead lead me to burn through my entire fragile resin supply, only to create one of my craziest Beidou builds yet, and then to top things off, I also attempted to clear the abyss with it. Let's talk about it. Okay, first things first, in order for me to be able to do all this, I of course needed to pull Columbina and Ineffa. Unfortunately, if you have been following this channel for a while, you know that I have been on a generational losing streak when it comes to my 50-50s. With me having not won a single one in over 2 years at this point. So you probably have the burning question on your mind right now: how did my pulls go? Have I finally managed to break the curse? Well, I am proud to tell you that after 2 years of pain and suffering, I lost again. Twice. Both on the Columbina banner as well as on the Ineffa one. I don't know what I have done to deserve this, but it seems like the curse still continues. Anyway, having secured Columbina and Ineffa, after having to do some additional investments, it was now time to take a closer look at Beidou in a Lunar Charge team. And the more I did that, the more I realized that it's kind of bad. To answer why, let's take a look at all the synergies Beidou has with Lunar Charged. Okay, I might be a bit exaggerating, at least she's Electro. Now, don't get me wrong, pairing Beidou with Columbina and Ineffa isn't like pairing Ineffa with 3 Geo characters, but it results in this weird situation where Columbina and Ineffa carry the entire team and Beidou is just tagging along in the back, not really contributing anything. Neither is Beidou improving anything about Lunar Charge, nor does she get any meaningful buffs from it. The way Beidou is designed is just inherently not very synergistic with Lunar reaction damage. Part of the reason lies in how the Lunar Charge damage formula works, which you can see here. Now, I expect by showing you this, I get one of two reactions. Either you completely understand what I just showed you, in which case, congratulations, you are a massive nerd, or I just scared you to death, in which case, don't worry, it's gonna be fine, everybody knows math isn't real, it can't hurt you. At least that's what I tell my bank every time they call me and ask about my spending habits. Anyway, the simplified TLDR for Lunar Charge damage is every character who took part in the reaction will contribute their damage to the final amount, although only the highest two really matter. And the stats that play a role in how much Lunar Charge damage is being dealt by a character are EM and crit. And of course also direct increases to Lunar reaction damage. Now, the unfortunate part for Beidou is that nothing in her kit profits from Elemental Mastery, nor can she increase it in any way. Crit stats are also rather rare, since she is a 4-star and a sensitive electro damage bonus, which by the way doesn't increase Lunar reaction damage. Furthermore, she isn't very good at applying electro, and therefore also not great at triggering reactions, since her abilities all share the standard ICD. So, in conclusion, this means that it just doesn't make much sense to use her in a Lunar Charge team, at least not more than any other Electro character. So at this point, I was kinda ready to throw this video away, because there's just nothing really interesting to talk about here. However, you are watching this, which means I came up with another idea. What if I ignored everything I just said and fully committed to maximize every aspect of my Beidou to do the maximum Lunar Charge damage possible, and then try and see if I can still clear the abyss with it. An idea so stupid, I just couldn't resist trying it anyway. Alright, let's talk about the team. First, I have to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the robot. For this experiment, I will have to leave Ineffa at level 1. The reason being, as I just mentioned, she would just completely run the show on her own, and we can't have that if we want to figure out if a Lunar Charge Beidou can actually work. But I will, for comparison, test if her leveled and built afterwards. This means for the time being, the only thing Ineffa will contribute is to help Beidou with energy, thanks to the electro resonance, and she will increase the moon sign level to get the maximum benefits for lunar reactions. To top things off, I gave her the instructor set with a FAV lens. I know this looks crazy, but it just had to be done in the name of science. Next we have Columbina. She will obviously play a crucial role in this team with her lunar reaction buffing capabilities as well as a solid personal damage. In an ideal world, I would want to use the Morningstar artifact set on her to improve her own damage. Unfortunately, the set just released and she's quite demanding when it comes to the right substats, so I was just better off leaving her on the Silken Moon set. I needed someone to hold the set anyway, since it gives a lot of EM to the team as well as a damage increase to lunar reactions. Lastly, for a weapon, I used the Wish.com version of her signature to offer the team a bit of healing while ensuring enough ER on her to burst on cooldown. Next, as you might have realized, there's still a spot left on the team, which I decided to fill with Sucrose to round out the team to a classic taser comp. Sucrose is great here in my opinion, since not only can she lower enemy resistances with the VV set, she can also further buff the team with even more elemental mastery. Now, I hope your eyes aren't bleeding anymore from the Ineffa build, because we now have to talk about what I did to Beidou. As we have established earlier, to focus on lunar charge reaction damage, we are looking for EM and crit. And, specifically for Beidou, we also need a decent bit of ER for her burst, since it's the only way for her to consistently apply Electro. Luckily, there exists the event weapon Flameforged Insight, which provides a ton of energy and EM when lunar reactions are being triggered. This makes this weapon simply a no-brainer in this case. Now, that wasn't too crazy yet, but let's talk about the artifact set next. Beidou's go-to choice would normally be Emblem of Severed Fate. It's a great set for her, provides ER and buffs her burst damage. However, it doesn't help me in my mission in dealing the most lunar charge damage possible with her. A reasonable option would have been giving Beidou the Silken Moon set instead of Columbina. However, I've abandoned all reason a long time ago, which should be clear with what I'm about to suggest. Remember which artifact set I said I should be giving to Columbina? Yes, Orbate of Morningstar and Moon. If you read what the set bonus does, it gives a 60% increase to lunar reaction damage. And isn't that conveniently exactly what we want? However, as I mentioned, this set just came out, and it would of course be very unwise for someone to spend all their fragile resin just to get this meme build going, which we already know won't even be good. So surely I'm now going to present you with an alternative and don't waste all my resources. Right? Well, after burning through roughly 2000 resin and 2 reroll feathers, I was able to get a somewhat passable build going, with an EM Sands, EM Goblet and a crit Circlet. The build is a bit low on crit damage, I have to admit, but it just had to be enough because, well, I was running out of fragile resins at this point. Okay, with my abomination of a build being completed, which I think would make even tutorial questions ethics, it was then time to face the abyss and find out whether or not a lunar charge Beidou team can clear the abyss. As always, I'm looking to get a clear time of below 90 seconds, since that is half the time you have to get full stars. So, without further ado, let's dive into the first chamber. First up were 2 Wild Hunt enemies, followed by the battle-hardened Lightkeeper. The 2 guys up front were basically just cannon fodder and were obliterated in an instant. The Lightkeeper on the other hand was obviously a bit more tanky and also posed a potential challenge for me. I did have the required not Crycatters on my team to directly damage his secondary HP in his special phase, but I was still a bit concerned about potentially not having enough DPS to kill the smaller enemies he spawns, which would then result in me getting nuked. However, I was clearly underestimating the team's AoE capabilities, and I cleared out all the adds fairly quickly, with which in the end I managed to clear the chamber on my first attempt in just 1 minute and 12 seconds. That's definitely a decent start for the run, but the enemies are essentially a freebie as long as you have not cry units. So I don't take this as enough proof that the Lunar Charge Beidou experiment is actually successful. In the second chamber I was faced with a familiar face from my previous video. Only this time I managed to somehow find an even more stupid Beidou build to beat the crap out of him. Anyways, the whole spiel of this boss is to hit the correct head in its intermission with electro charge attacks, of which I obviously had plenty of. The more tricky part was in its second phase, where he constantly bombards you with AoE attacks, which normally isn't a big deal, but I can tell you it isn't the best environment for a level 1 Ineffa. Now, it was also at this point that I started to pay attention to the actual damage numbers that were popping up on my screen. And honestly, I was kind of surprised to see multiple hits in the 40 to 60k range. There are also some hits above 100k, but those are from Columbina, who periodically just nukes everything around her. And I'm sure that plays no part in why the team is being successful so far. But hey, besides that, my team also features a level 1 Ineffa, and the boss was still clearly melting before my eyes with a final time of 1 minute and 20 seconds. So does this mean that Lunar Charge Beidou is actually viable? Well, I think it's too early to celebrate, since there's still one more chamber left. Last was another single target boss encounter, the infamous Knuckle Duckle. Similar to the Cactus, Aino's backyard war machine has a mechanic that requires electro charge. How convenient, it's almost like Hoyo wants to tell us something. Anyway, the boss will periodically spawn 5 little ducklings and give itself a massive shield and resistances, requiring you to first kill the little ducklings with electro attacks before being able to attack the boss again. This means getting rid of these spawns of Satan is key in order to get a fast enough clear time. Now again, luckily for me, it seems like that my team is tailor-made to get rid of multiple enemies at the same time, and so dealing with this phase was fairly trivial. However, at this point I was noticing once the boss's shield was down that the single target DPS was certainly lacking a bit. In fact, it was so bad, it even resulted in me not being able to defeat the boss before it would enter a second duckling phase. Normally this would almost certainly mean that the clear time goes above 90 seconds, but again, thanks to the team's AoE powers, I was able to deal with the second wave just in time to get a point landing of 1 minute and 30 seconds. And so I did it. I cleared the Spiral Abyss with a full Lunar Charge Beidou. Honestly, I didn't expect this to work in the slightest, but the team was dishing out some decent Lunar Charge damage even without Ineffa. Now, does this mean that I would recommend you do this? No, absolutely not. Although I will admit, it's kinda funny to see 1200 EM on Beidou. I think in this case, it's important to admit that this Abyss was very favorable for what I was trying to do, and while I think I would still be able to clear in other Abysses, it would certainly require a bit more effort. Also, as you can see in the background, with a leveled and built Ineffa, these chambers just get completely obliterated. Now, even though I was successful with my experiment and it was better than expected, what I said about Beidou not synergizing very well still holds true. But also, if you are like me and still want to play Beidou in 2026, you probably don't care about what's optimal. I think you can absolutely make her work and feel good in a Lunar Charge team, but I think I would not go the full EM route. Let her do a normal talent damage and maybe even put her on Silken Moon as a support set, and then let Columbina and Ineffa handle all the Lunar stuff. But hey, if you have some different ideas, let me know down in the comments. Anyway, with that we are at the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little experiment, and I also hope to see you next time. Until then, bye!